not to get what God has promised you. And just as a reminder, remember now, they had gone in, they had conquered the land. It was time for them to begin distributing the land of the Canaanites to each of the 12 tribes of Israel. However, we found out that it was the tribe of Reuben and the tribe of Gad and half of the tribe of Manasseh were not going to get any of the promised land. That is because before they crossed over Jordan, they looked at all of their sheep and cattle, and then they looked at the land that was prior to the Jordan and said, this is good enough for me right here. In other words, they were willing to settle for the land before they got to the place where God wanted to take them. And God said, okay, since this is the land you want, that you figure you need based on what you see, this is the land you're going to receive instead of the promise that I have for you. You run into trouble in life when you're willing to settle for less than what God has for your life. Now, since they were willing to settle, Moses also told them back in Numbers, you will remember that you're going to settle for this land, but that does not mean you're not going to fight. You've got to cross just like everybody else. You've got to fight with your brothers to conquer what they're going to receive, but you've got to go back to the land that you're settling for. All right, that's important because this leads into Caleb, who has a different approach to receiving or making or finding the victory in his life. Y'all understand it with me? All right, now watch this. If you look at the beginning of verse 6, it says, now the men of Judah approached Joshua. All right, here's the first thing. I want you to write this down if you're writing. If you want to ensure that you walk in victory in the Lord, number one, don't settle for less. Don't settle for less. Most of us settle for less than what is best for us because we don't believe that we deserve something better. Matter of fact, we will settle on the job that we get. Now don't walk away from a job. Amen. It's a bad economy. You got a job, say amen. Okay, but you don't have to settle in the job that you have. In other words, if God has designed you to have something more, then don't settle. You need to look for something more. If you're looking for a relationship with someone, and they say, oh, well, they're nice. I guess I can live with this. I can live with this. I can live with that. No. You better not settle because what is cute at the beginning becomes an annoyance later on down the. Am I right about it? Am I right? Don't settle for less than not what you want, but what God has for you. Guess what? Every one of you, under the sound of my voice, God has designed you for a particular purpose to fulfill in planet Earth. And you cannot settle for less than what God wants you to do. Don't settle for less. That's the first thing. Right there, the reason why I see that is because on the hills of Manasseh and Gad and Reuben, asking for less, Caleb and the tribe of Judah says, we're not going to go out like that. I want everything that is coming to me based on what God has promised. Y'all follow what I'm saying? All right, let's see. Why did they approach Judah right there in verse 6? Because, approach Joshua. Because Joshua, listen, they had conquered most of the land. Y'all walking with me? Joshua was getting ready, according to Deuteronomy, to cast lots for the rest of the land, and they were going to throw the land out per tribe. And so Joshua, the tribe of Joshua said, before you start divvying up the land, I'm not going to leave that to happenstance. I'm coming to collect what God already said I can have before you give it to somebody else. That's why he says that in verse 6. He said, hold on, Joshua, before you start doing that, I'm not going to settle, because you remember, look what he says in verse 6. He says, you remember what the Lord said. There's a Latin phrase, carpe diem. It means seize the day. Guess what? Many of you already know that every now and then in life, God gives you opportunities. Am I right about it? God sometimes opens up doors. But now, if we're settling, you got to be careful. You won't walk through that door. Now, even though God's love is eternal, not every opportunity will be open forever. He says you got to take opportunity. Look at how they took opportunity. Look at what he says. Look what he says in verse 6. It was the tribe of Judah. Everybody say Judah. Judah. Now, who was the spokesperson for the tribe? His name was Caleb. Everybody see that? It was Caleb, the son of a Kenizzite. Do y'all see that? That's very important. Why is that important? Caleb was the leader of the tribe of Judah, but his daddy was a Canaanite. Okay, let me see if I can explain that a little further. The name Caleb means dog. You know, like dog, bow wow, rough rough. His name's dog. Now, to understand this, dogs in the ancient Near East were not viewed the same way we view dogs today. Because anybody have a dog? You got a dog, if you have a dog, what do we say? Dog is man's best friend. Pat him and he's helping, he loves everybody. Not in those days. Because a dog was a wild and ferocious animal. And a dog always ran in packs. It never fought alone. It fought with some other dogs. And I've already talked about on several times how whenever they gave names to children, they named them a lot of times according to their character. Why am I saying all this? I'm trying to help you to see what kind of person Caleb was. Now to be able to be a Canaanite, but at the same time the leader of the important tribe of Judah, he wasn't even in their family. His name was Dog, which means he was a ferocious fighter. All right. So what's the second thing? If you're going to walk in what God has for you, you've got to get to a point where you're going to be aggressive in the Lord. Now there's a misconception thinking that because you're Christian and holy, that means you're never aggressive. Listen, if you're walking in what God has asked you to walk, then you've got to walk in strength and power. Because he said, I have not given you a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power and a sound mind. He says, you know, I'm the dog, bow wow, rough rough. I'm strong, I have power. Now, why is that important? He didn't come to Joshua by himself. He brought the whole family with him. You know why that is? He said, Joshua, I already know what I want. I don't want no problems out of you. Because if you give me problems, you're going to give all of us problems. If you fight with me, you're going to fight with all of us. So he says, listen, Joshua, you remember what Moses said. Let's do a rewind. Come on, let's press the rewind button. Let's go back. 40 years prior to this point, y'all Bible students know what I'm talking about? God told Moses to take the people into the promised land. All right? Before they went in, he said, I need you to pick one spy from every tribe. We're going to send 12 spies into the land. I'm talking about 40 years ago. And they're going to check out the land. Each tribe had one spy. The tribe of Judah chose, guess who? Caleb, the ferocious dog. Joshua also went in as a spy because Moses was the leader. Y'all remember the story? Y'all help me tell the story. Now, they went in. They checked it out. It's a great land, just like God said it was. It's flowing with milk and honey. But what else did they tell the people? 10 of the spies said, it's a great place, but we don't want to go in because there's people in there that are bigger and stronger than we are. And we are going to get a beat down first class. Because 10 of the spies made that report, the whole nation was afraid. Now, when everybody was afraid and saying, we don't want to go, let's go back to Egypt, I'd rather be a slave, the only one to stand up was, you guessed it, Caleb the dog. He said, hold on. We should go right now. We should do it at once. We've got God, and we're well able to beat the enemy.